Tauna. I'm doing this interview. I'm interviewing Christina Butera. She's a teacher at Finley Junior High. She was nice enough to give me her time and answer some questions that I would think you would all be interested in. So Christina, I know you taught elementary before you taught middle school. Can you tell us what you think the difference was between teaching elementary and middle school?
Um, Obviously, middle school is more departmentalized, so at this time I only teach reading and language arts, whereas at the elementary level I taught all subject levels, obviously younger grades. I guess a little bit of everything. It was more of a potpourri, I guess, when it was elementary, whereas middle school you kind of feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again.
Okay. Yeah, I could see teaching different subjects compared to teaching one subject, the difference it would be in your. What do you think are the challenges that come with teaching middle school?
I find that all kids are kids and they kind of all have their learning strategies that are unique to them. And I always thought, kids are kids. But middle school, I find that, there's a little bit more of a behavior context to it. As they get older, they find that they want to know how the content's relevant to their life. And it's not as fun, I guess, as elementary school was. So it's a little bit harder to keep them engaged in the subject matter. It's a little more difficult, I think, to make it meaningful to them and relevant to their life. It's a challenge, I think, to keep them interested, and sometimes that results in more of a behavior issue. Changing hormones makes for an interesting situation. You never really know what to expect, and I think that does lead to some behavior issues as well. That's a little bit more challenging than what I experienced at the elementary school.
Okay, well, we're talking so when we talk about relevance, there's respect. Do you see the students respecting each other, and what do you do to encourage students to respect each other?
At our school, I think that overall students do respect each other. We do have issues now and then with typical adolescent behavior. I think as long as you show them respect, they respect you in turn. Obviously, there's always some sort of incident that comes up where there's a misunderstanding or there's a mood swing, whatever the case may be, where we all have a bad day and maybe something comes up, but I don't think the students in general are disrespectful.
Okay, so then does your curriculum here include socio-emotional learning?
We don't have a set curriculum for it at this time. We kind of rely on our social worker for those types of situations. She does come into our classrooms periodically to teach something herself, but as far as individual teachers, no, we don't have a curriculum for that.
Okay, and then what made you get into teaching?
When I was growing up, there was always a high value of education placed in our household, and I know my dad struggled in high school because he had a learning disability, so it was always a big thing in our house to make something of yourself, get an education. And in grade school, I was always kind of like the teacher helper, and I got to go to other grades and help other teachers, and I always thought that it was really fun to work with kids, and I really liked kind of the light bulb going on experience, right, even at, I guess, an elementary level age. So I think that's really what inspired me to want to be a teacher.
Okay, cool. And then what are some strategies you use in classroom management?
We pretty much have, I guess, a step system. We start out with obviously a verbal warning. We have what we call silent lunches or lunch detentions, which would be the next step. If the behavior progresses, we go to an after-school pass, which would be like a detention. And then finally we have an office referral. We do also try to kind of intermix positive things into our consequences, so to speak, where we have quarter rewards, we have Viking vouchers, which kind of go with good character. We encourage kids to behave with field trips and positive phone calls home, things like that. So it's kind of a balance of positive and negative consequences as well.
Okay, and then I guess I was going to ask, how do you measure, but are you able to measure the success of these strategies?
I don't know if it's a hardcore measurement system. I think it's just kind of an informal measurement where you could just kind of, see day to day how your students are behaving. I personally don't write that many lunch detentions for my kids. I don't really write many detentions or after school passes. I think for the most part, one redirection or one warning kind of usually gets them back on task. We don't have a lot of severe issues where we have to, go further with further consequences. But if we do, usually if we write a lunch detention, that makes them pretty unhappy and stops things in the
Okay.
bud.
That's good. And then, so in the middle school, you have the 6th grade, the 7th grade, and the 8th grade. I think when elementary school, there's similarities, as they say, kids are kids in high school. From the freshmen to seniors, there's similarities, but with high school, there's something unique where every group is different. Would you notice differences with 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, respectively?
6th grade tends to be a little more timid coming from the elementary school to the middle school. They're a little more shy, they're a little more uncertain, they're kind of the new kid on the block. They need a little bit more guidance, they need a little more assistance, especially at the beginning of the year. By the end of the year, they're pretty comfortable. By 7th grade, they're pretty comfortable. They kind of know what to expect. They know the routines. They know the procedures. By 8th grade, they're very comfortable.
Yeah.
I would say we probably have the biggest challenge with our 8th grade group. They kind of have that big kid on campus attitude about them. They think by September they're ready to graduate, so it's a little harder to kind of keep them grounded and centered, so to speak, and focused on their academics.
Okay, and then with that, what would you say? I'm sorry, is the percentage of your lesson? Do you focus on socio-emotional skills?
Like I said, we don't really have that in our curriculum, so I don't know that I could speak to a percentage. It's more of an informal, I guess, kind of teachable moment
Okay.
type of situation. I wouldn't say that I devote a certain percentage of my lesson to that.
Okay. Do you think we should, in your personal opinion as a middle school teacher, do you think we should devote a percentage of our lesson to socio-emotional learning?
I think at the middle school especially, it's a difficult time for kids. They don't know how to handle changes in their personal lives and their bodies and all these things that they're experiencing. And I think that would be something that would benefit them to kind of help them understand what's going on, maybe learn some coping strategies, maybe. I think it would definitely maybe make them more self-aware, and maybe that would decrease those situations that we do have in schools in general with bullying, disrespect, things that are kind of common to the teaching profession, just to kind of, if kids really knew how to handle those situations when they arose.
Okay, and then when you first taught middle school, did you feel that you were prepared for it?
Goodness no. Middle school was my first teaching position, and I don't know that anyone is ever ready, even after student teaching. I think it's one of those things where you kind of jump in the water with both feet and you kind of learn as you go. So I've definitely learned some things along the way. I'm still learning things along the way, but to say that I was prepared for it, not fully, no, but I don't know if you're ever fully prepared for anything.
Right, you're right. But all right then, Christina, thank you so much for your time. And once again, this is Walida Tauna, your student. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and have a good take care.